They are children from the video about children. This child died in the Gaza. Children held and lost in Gaza. In southern Cameroon, children have not gone to school for years. My little Tyke was safe in my mother's house across the street from the elementary school. The innocence of a child, unburdened, carefree, thriving. At my mother's house, across the street from the elementary school. In 1967, some Americans came. We are from a happy, interdependent society. We are not hunter-gatherers, and this was revealed in the AI. We trusted the tower. We kids hiked up the hill behind our neighborhood, and the tower was a sign of protection, watching ships arrive in the harbor. The Jehovah's Witnesses came, they subjugated us, they had people take things from us, and we're exposed to the hunter-gatherers culture. I was only 10 when they came to my parents' house in Jamaica. That's the airport, and that's our neighborhood. So we had a lot of people coming in because we're so close to the airport. This is how interdependent societies conduct themselves. Every year we have the Christmas party. That's my sister doing the limbo. That's our adopted big sister. She's really a cousin. We brought her to school from the farm. And this is what our annual Christmas party looked like. It's really family and some close friends. This is how we managed our children and kept them safe. This one here, she was taken from the farm and came to live with me and my two sisters to go to Excelsior High School. And she turned out really good without her mother. She got 2 master's degrees and she married to a judge in Washington. This one right here, she has a PhD, and her mother worked for IBM in New York while she went to school in Jamaica. She went to Holy Child Catholic School for Girls, and her sister has a bachelor degree in nursing. Elon Musk said, they are saying one thing and then they're doing evil. Risha Vance acknowledged that it was misogyny for somebody to say a childless cat lady. Do not play tricks on children. This trick was in the newspaper. Migrants were told that they had an immigration appointment in Delray Beach. Instead, they were detained. The art of degrading and subjugating women. You see Rihanna's face. Rihanna suffered facial mutilation by Chris Brown. Rihanna is Barbadian royalty, and she's with ASAP Rocky, whose father is Barbadian. The same facial mutilation is exhibited in O.J. Simpson's wife. She had a stab wound to the body which killed her, but she also had facial mutilation, which is really symbolic of destroying somebody's identity. That's the worst form of misogyny. So we see the similarity in the two cases. Overcoming betrayal is very hard. 2 of these boys in this picture are gifted. One is now a PhD in neurosurgery and the other one is dead. It's about your value systems. When my nephew had his Rhodes Scholarship to Oxford, England, he came back to his high school and thanked the school because our value system includes appreciation of education. We do thank former school. I was only 10 As you can see, my dad, who was a Cuban fighter, liked to take his three little girls around in his car, especially to the beach. When they gave me that business model to live by, I did not recognize it as a business model because they were able to answer questions from the Bible and Watchtower and Awake. But when Donald Trump was president the first time, the Jehovah's Witnesses sold this property to to Trump Kushners, to the Kushners for $340 million. But when I did research, I looked at a book in the FAU library and I saw that not only was George Washington a descendant of George Washington, was related to this organization, but also President Dwight Eisenhower was also related to this organization. So no wonder if it starts with a president, it ends with President Trump and Kushner's. And that's just a document which I copied out of a book about President Dwight Eisenhower and his connection to Jehovah's Witnesses. But the Jehovah's Witnesses have 20 billion in land and buildings all over the world, including the property right by FAU. So it might have been a project, a global project, because now they're using, the Jehovah's Witnesses said at the end of a certain system, which is their project, there would be Paradise. Now we have Paradise Bank, we have Paradise Bus Pass, we have Paradise Football season or something, and Paradise Events in Boca. So it looks like a project. So here are the children that helped them build and acquire these 20 billion in properties globally. I helped them build a Kingdom Hall too. We saw a boy, now we see a girl. These are just copies of the Jehovah's Witness documents to let you know they're linked to government, starting with government, ending with government. More documents regarding Judge Rutherford, the one who started the organization and linked to George Washington Rutherford. These are the ones about President Dwight Eisenhower. Anyway, I understand business models because I worked at Walgreens, and Walgreens was building stores in Palm Beach County, well, building stores everywhere to compete with CVS. So, the secret life of Jehovah's Witnesses. You can't really tell. Sometimes they don't go to divorce courts and you have a lot of police action. They say do not celebrate 4th of July, but they sell properties to presidents. So that was very ironic. When Michael Jackson had the press conference stating that he was no longer a Jehovah's Witness, he did this after Thriller, and then he did a video in Brazil with the poor children, and the song was They Don't Care About Us. Los son niños, ce sont des enfants, das sind Kinder, Anya at Austin. Although I am grounded in the Jehovah's Witness, I do not take drugs, I do not get drunk, I do not smoke, I do not do immoral sex. I still will blow the whistle on the Jehovah's Witnesses. My son was at Hagan Ranch Elementary School. He tested gifted at 6 years old. I was doing reading groups, tables of 5 children, just flashing the words at them and they learn it. And this is a school that I attended in Jamaica. My mother's value system was such that she bought a house in front of the elementary school. This is me and my sister sitting on the fence. We just had to cross the street in order to get to elementary school. Sometimes we jump the fence. That's our value system. Independent societies, you can see another picture of the children in our neighborhood. We had a lot of birthday parties and different events. And then we had our school, our beach, our watchtower, and our mountains behind the neighborhood. The Holocaust had reparations. I have some documents of it. And I am going to court for reparation for the suffering of my sons, for the death of my sons, for my wrongful termination from the city of Delray Beach, for my stalking and robbing. So here's one reparation for the Holocaust, 1956 document, Federal Compensation Act. And then there was another reparation, 2022. Now, the Rwanda massacre, 1994 in Rwanda, 1 million people were killed in 100 days. 2021, when Donald Trump was president, he said, drink Lysol when we had COVID. And then 2024, there was a video with him saying, use them up. And I'm not, she said that there would be some little pain, but I don't know who he was saying to use up. But uh, one human being using up another human being is not a good value system. So the paradigm of genocide, we have the Holocaust, we have the Rwanda massacre, we have North Korea, and we have COVID from China. This is the chart of the Holocaust of the Jews. They received $775 million in Swiss bank accounts from using up the Jews and killing them. This is the history of the Trump family. 1869, Frederick Trump went to Germany. And 1933 was the Holocaust. I'm so happy that Donald Trump validated the international court. He validated it by saying they weaponized the court. I felt that the court treated Donald Trump like a clown because I was in American court. I was on the witness stand. I did a deposition. I was very quiet because I decided to let my ex-husband win in court. So we have another thing that the world, 196 countries, can see is that Roe versus Wade was reversed. So that's three things wrong with the American court. Then Donald Trump said, we won the case at The Hague. So he's validating that we have cases at The Hague. So I feel that the case we are bringing to The Hague will win. As the King of Jordan said, we must have global accountability because horrors will be normalized. J'aimerais engager un avocat spécialisé dans les droits de l'homme international. Mon cas a été présenté à la presse au Canada. Je suis le porte-parole de 5 groupes dans l'action en justice contre les États-Unis. J'ai tout examiné, j'ai beaucoup de preuves. United Nations has a joint human rights office. The United Nations Joint Human Rights Office actually is taking the courts to different countries. Dr. Arikana Shiomborikwa got fired for releasing the data. The IMF gives USA loans 1.9% and gives Africa 9% loans. Then it got worse. The IMF said that the dam they wanted to build in Africa was a $5 billion loan. And after inspection, they said they would have to pay 20% interest. The IMF impoverished many countries. This is the IMF debt map. But of most concern to me is Jamaica because when I was a child, when the Jehovah's Witnesses came in 1967, the Jamaican dollar was of greater value than the US dollar. It means when I came shopping as a teenager, I would give them one Jamaican dollar and get two US dollar. Now, with the IMF debt of $797 million in Jamaica, our dollar is 155 Jamaican dollars equal 1 US. So China has been doing infrastructure projects. and the interest rate is lower. And this is what has caused a lot of conflict in the world. China is working with Africa and other countries. So Bill Clinton said we have our cultural battles. Bill Clinton was in Boca Raton speaking to Solomon Smith Barney. I think it was 1996. Now we have Vivek Ramaswamy and Usha Vance. We have cultural differences, and I have a video regarding all these 22 problems I have. I have 22 problems here, and I have a whole video discussing these 22 problems. Now that USAID was taken from Africa, the Africans showed the world what they could be like, killing the white farmers, pushing them off the farms, robbing them, etc. And then they came and met with Donald Trump. So it's been a very bad conflict. But the Africans in Africa started out as savages selling their brothers. 1987, President Sankara was killed by his friend. And then they come to the United States and they become police. And then they become police gangs, which is a different video. So the IMF has strings because their headquarters are in Washington, D.C. And we see the way the United States has been spoiled by the IMF and the World Bank. And we see how they destroyed all those other countries, and then the people run here and get deported. Africa is abandoning the United Nations, and I cannot find out a reason why Africa has been treated this way for 80 years. I'm not sure. But I'm sure that the IMF and World Bank has impoverished many countries. And that is why BRICS, Russia, China, and all those other countries, BRICS is doing most of the development of the world now. USA, over the years when they were impoverishing countries and looting Africa, they have all these net. They have net at the bank, they have failed banks, and now we have the net going to the new Paradise Bank in Boca Raton. We have the net assets, like Elon Musk bought Twitter and he didn't pay his rent and used the money to fund Tesla. Then we have net of humans, like children, like when you insure your child, life insurance and auto insurance, and then you go to court for an accident and then you net a certain amount of money. I also saw the net property insurance where I was working in Winfield Plaza. It doesn't bother me, but it is there. So net in the USA allows the big men to move funds around, the failed banks, and the net assets. When I worked for the city of Delray Beach, this man sold me my house, but he built a $8 million shopping center where the DCF was, and he took out the DCF and put this shopping center for the rich. And he spoke to my attorney and got me a house. That's how big men can do things. That's the shopping center right there. And these were my properties when I worked for the city of Delray Beach. This is my condo up here. That's my condo and that's my house. So when that girl came into the city of Delray Beach and affected her little whatever, I told the CIA it's illegal, and I just made a simple statement because the FBI just really ignored me. And I look at all the business models, and the Jehovah's Witnesses really disappointed me because when I was 10, I really trusted them. And the culture of builders are killers. I saw this thing in Delray Beach. I don't know what it is. I saw this in Boca. No, this one's Delray. No, that's Boca and that's Delray. I don't know. I guess it's some kind of planning thing, like communists or socialists. I don't know. So this is the deportation list. This is the original list of these countries. I think that these countries and their presidents all know that they have been impoverished by the IMF and the World Bank for all those years while spoiling the United States. I think they already know that. This is a picture of the Bulgaria. You have 70,000 people living in a ghetto with no garbage service. This is Burundi. They don't have cars, they use donkeys. So the United Nations Joint Human Rights Office, as I said, it is mobile. The court goes out to you. Well, USA is only 4.2% of the world's population. It's one country out of 196 countries. So we have 196 countries watching the court system in the United States and watching the president in the United States and the deportation in the United States. And so the trick which they developed over 80 years, the trick played a trick on Africa and played a trick on all the countries of the IMF is very clear now. The big men and their big projects, playing games and tricks. Professor Lumumba mentioned manipulations. He said that the 1 million people who were killed in 1994 in Rwanda in 100 days is a manipulation. So I took one of his words. I take a lot of words from Professor Lumumba. He attended University of Bulgaria, no, the University of Belgium, and he also went to law school. So I take a lot of his words. But that's the Rwanda massacre, a million people killed in 100 days. This Jehovah Witness, I help them build a kingdom hall too. These people do this volunteer work. They have no labor cost. And this is a mansion, and this is also a manipulation. So when they had 9/11 and they destroyed the World Trade Center, it moved to Fulton Street. I think it's 135 Fulton Street in New York. So 1985, we had the Schengen area in Europe. 1993, we had the European Union. 2001, we have One World Trade Center. 2008, China replaces the IMF in Africa, giving Africa $60 billion. 2020, we had COVID. 2024, Trump admits US courts are weaponized. 2025, we need one world court, the International Criminal Court. And 2030, we need one world poverty manager. This is One World Trade Center building. If USAID will not be helping the poor and the clinics are closed for women all over the world, there has to be one world poverty manager. This is the International Criminal Court. These are different judges. They used to have 8 judges, now they have 18 judges. The president of Canada was very emotional about the tariffs, and he was also emotional about International Criminal Court. And we hope he is genuine because the big men play tricks and they are actors. This is a cause of action against the Gaza in the ICC. So the cause of action, Bill Gates said that Bill Gates had an audit of the world and said that he's giving 200 billion to Africa. That's a reparation. So a cause of action against the United States would include different abuse categories. Native American Indians, abuse of slaves, Black Lives Matter, time done, limited value, deportees, and there's a new class America created called the future is a door that will never open. So that's the ICC judges. There were 8 before, and one was a Jamaican judge. Now there's 18. There are more women. We hope that means that there will be more justice for women. So since World War II, a lot was given. We can see it very clearly throughout the IMF giving these easy breezy loans to the United States. We saw the computer revolution, which Bill Gates really cries about. So we think it would be corrective for US $50 billion verdict for the 31 countries, because Bill Gates says that Africa should get $200 billion. Between Thursday, January 9, 2025 and Sunday, January 13, 2025, I had a stalking and tracking, and they make really rude comments because they ran me into the ground. But they could not enslave my mind, and that's why I'm making this video, because they can run me physically into the ground. They can take away my government job, my condo, my house, my car, but they can't run my mind into the ground. I've noticed a lot of interactions and some power struggles and some evidence of a coup d'etat in the state of Florida, and they're networking with certain cities, but that's a different video. I noticed that when President Obama killed Osama, that's a picture of Osama right here before he was killed. After that, the permission structure given by the Republican changed so that a lot of bad things could be done by a lot of police. And here's Dick Cheney, and that's where I got the permission structure word from. I rob people of their terms. So Dick Cheney's daughter is also in government, and that's his grandsons. But I don't believe that Dick Cheney personally is giving permission for police to conduct misogyny. I don't think so. So I was working in Winfield Plaza, which is Mr. James Batmasian's property, his investments limited. Mr. James Batmasian has been through all kinds of things. They came from Boston working really hard, he and his wife. I really admire them because I had a business myself when I was attending FAU. But these two sheriffs came down here, 6:45 Saturday, March 18, 2022. Two sheriffs are talking to each other. I know what this is. This is a whole different video. But the sheriff, when I I my my Bachelor of Business Administration and Management from FAU included a real estate class. That was my elective. I took real estate, but I also took it at Gold Coast. So I bought a property for sale by owner, and the sheriff were all there one night while I was working for the city of Delray Beach, and I thought there was a robbery because the three sheriff cars were over there with their lights flashing, and I said, "No, we're looking for you." So I just went upstairs to bed. But this is how everything culminated because that girl, which is another video, the girl comes on my job and bullies me out of government, but she doesn't know that's my fourth government job. I lived public service, but I studied business. So I won't make any snide remarks in this version because this version is about the children of the future becoming killers. What kind of world would it be if most of the people in the world will be killers? I have a lot of trivial evidence in this video, and this is what I think is an external coup d'etat, which is African American state trooper. Now this is in time of Napoleon. We had a coup d'etat, and now the Republicans. The reason why I started using the word coup d'etat is because the Republicans said they were having a soft coup d'etat. And then I realized maybe they recognized that Obama and his people had a coup d'etat, internal coup d'etat, external coup d'etat, wrestling for power. And then Kamala Harris and Maya Harris said we have to do something. So this is something I'm doing. I'm making this video. So the probability is that we'll have 300 million Americans dead and robots working with 31 million rich people, the big men. The big men and their neighbors, there'll be 31 million rich. Or we could have 300 million with no benefits, not being able to work, not being able to learn AI, and then Trump and 31 million rich. And the other scenario does not exist anymore because Kamala Harris couldn't help us. I'm trying to get my delegation together. We are on Facebook. Caribbean Diaspora Lives Matter, Time Done, Limited Value, and the Deported. The Caribbean Diaspora Map. People from the Caribbean went all over the world. Like at my school, my best friend studied French with me and German. She's in Germany. I have sisters in the UK. I have family in many places, and I guess I communicate right now with the whole world. So Time Done is an organization for people who are unfairly or unjustly put in prison or jail or spend too much time in prison or jail. Limited Value came out of 2023 incident when a graduate student was killed and the police said she was of limited value. And John Sarbanes said it was 300 million Americans against big money. So the limited value are 300 million Americans. Then we have the deported. And we realize that these 31 countries were impoverished by the IMF and World Bank. And that's why the people run here. So the president of Colombia requested that his people be treated more humanely. This woman complains that they took her phone, they took her documents, they almost took her baby. The complaints from Dominican Republic, I just made copies of too. Ana Navarro also said that many of the people who are now in the class which the United States created called "The Future is a Door That Will Never Open" were not hardened criminals. And this is Guantanamo Bay where they put deportees. So this is them complaining about Guantanamo Bay, that it's inhumane. These are protests as usual. 2025, the Americans were protesting, but I have about 4 pictures of protests. They protest and they go back to their house, go back to their job, go back to Walmart. Yeah, this is another protest. All right. I'm not going to read this Spanish thing. My padre es de Habana, Cuba. We have to have communication with groups, reaching out to victims. We need to collect evidence and videos, organize Zoom calls, assure deported that the UN 2030 will heal. We have to contact the numerous pro bono international human rights attorneys. I have selected one attorney, and she happens to be trying to be an MP also. And so she knows about my issues with government. I sent her my videos about government, and then we'll see how she proceeds on the case. I really love this attorney because her mother was killed when she was 9 and thrown in a landfill. So we need a delegation to the attorneys and a delegation to the International Criminal Court. So the International Criminal Court recently had a verdict of $900 million and they were charging Africa. From this global standpoint, US 50 billion is a fair verdict. So my complaint started in 1967. And I put this slide into a very black background so you could see my son clearly, my little tyke. And they took from me my little tyke, my 4th government job, my condo, my house, my car, my health. So that's my condo there and that's my house that they took. And I will not play that video from South Africa. Blame yourself for trusting them. Don't blame people for disappointing you. It's a very good melody for this video, but I won't play it. So I felt that right near Florida Atlantic University, I see all those vacant lots where they could grow crops. It's just how spoiled the United States is. I see properties aligned with Trump Kushner's, the Jehovah's Witnesses selling properties, 23 billion in land and buildings all over the world to the Trump Kushners. I see waste and excess of acreage for the rich mansions. There are all these billionaires, like the president of FAU has a huge property, it's about 3 acres. He's on anyway. So I was walking around Boca Raton because the state trooper took my car. Well, he damaged my car in the garage and then he ticketed it back to back and my sister went to court. But I talked to the FBI, but the FBI has a different agenda. So I stepped up my communication to the CIA because the CIA was in Jamaica when I was a child. So here is Boca Raton wasting water. Now you saw the children in Bulgaria, they are white children. They have no water, they have no food. And in the Gaza, no water, no food. Here's Boca Raton wasting water. Oh, that's a lot of water they're wasting. That was Monday, December 23, 2024. So this is all the land that they're wasting. Of course, Boca Raton now has some signs about public land. So I'm not getting involved in it, but this is waste. There's no sound barrier by the trains, which if they planted crops by the sound, if they planted crops by the train line, which goes from Florida to New York, it would be a sound barrier, and also it would provide food if it's like food forests, plants and things. This is where I used to work. They do not recycle the cardboard. This is a dumpster full of plastic and cardboard. So they're not recycling. This is an opportunity for zero waste. Zero waste is a culture in Europe, but in the United States they waste a lot. Now we're looking at these machines here. These machines cost $500 million or more. You see these machines, this one, this one. There's even a place in Boca Raton where you can rent these machines. I've seen the painters renting some of those machines. See how rich the United States is? These machines right here, I took a picture of them because they're sitting there wasting man hours. That means they're not being used. They finish the work and then they sit around and do nothing. And in other countries, these machines could be clearing land for crops. They could be making water channels and reservoirs. Here's more machines just sitting around with no man hours. That one there. And this one is doing some work on Florida Antique University property. This is food being wasted in the United States. That costs $11 at Poor Tropical. So I had a picture of this before, and this is Mar-a-Lago, and Donald Trump now has a dog robot on the property. So the 31 million rich have just been given tax cuts by Donald Trump. These are the big men, all the presidents of the world. So in the big men's world, there is oil prices and Bill Dubai, and then they have COVID and bring the robots. Florida Atlantic University now has a robot dog, and they have this administrative robot. So I guess the 300 million of limited people of limited value, they don't need them, they just need robots. So who will be working? That's a robot nurse, robot in construction, construction robot. A lot of people don't know that in North Korea, Kim Jong-il kept only 10% of the population, starving the rest of the people, which is another kind of genocide, like the Holocaust and like the Rwanda massacre. I'm not sure what it means when Elon Musk did a Heil Hitler, but it's on YouTube, so I put a picture there. I don't know who he is, but I know that he knows how to do business. So Monday, December 30, 2024, I became sure that I have a case because the white state trooper said, "Give me your driver's license." He said, "No prior calls," indicating that the violation of my Fourth Amendment's right was off the computer. An African American state trooper was in his uniform and used his car to break into my house and violate my Fourth Amendment rights, damage my property, to get me back to back. And when I was in Broward, they also hurt me. Well, they tried to set up a little scenario down in Broward. That means the African American police are gangs. They must be talking to each other. How would they know in Broward what's going on in Palm Beach County? I guess that's part of the characteristics of a coup d'etat. So robots will stop off the computer outrageous government conduct. That's a robot police. So if I didn't do this video, everything that happened would be just another thing that they get away with. And people in America are famous for figuring out what they can get away with. They brag about evil deeds. They think they can get away with it. When I was working for the city of Delray Beach, there was a class at Harvard, and Obama also had a class in Harvard. I believe that's part of the permission for the African Americans to take over most things, the state and cities. I don't think that's a good decision just because they're African American to give them government jobs. I think Donald Trump was right to fire them. I think that Donald Trump should let Elon Musk go into the state and check who's managing the food stamp money going to the cities. The city of Delray Beach just got a African American city manager for the first time. I think that I know they're sitting at my desk and not doing any work because I was trained by two attorneys. So I think that Elon Musk needs to go into the states and the cities and see if they're doing any work. Are they just getting pay? Donald Trump said we are just boys and girls. Well, Obama is bisexual. Well, his daughter said that. I don't know if that's a trick too. The lady who bullied me out of the city of Delray Beach, her husband is a state registered sex offender. The city of Delray Beach has gay employees and gay clubs. So we're glad that Bill Gates is showing some admission of guilt and donating the $200 billion to Africa. That's somewhat of a reparation. But the 31 countries where people were deported also deserve a reparation because of the trick of the IMF. And these are the ones who were spoiled by the computer revolution, which Bill Gates got choked up about how spoiled they were by the computer revolution while kids were starving all over the world. So there was a spending porn while Biden was president. Yeah, America is spoiled and spend a lot of money in all kinds of ways. I am one of six daughters of a Cuban fighter. My father was a mechanic in the Royal Air Force. After he was a Cuban fighter, he was a Coca-Cola manager. I'm doing this video because when I was 9, he started training me not to be afraid. This is my email address. This is the delegation where you can find the delegation to join to go to the International Criminal Court. Thank you.